10L Sports Central will be going over our next final prediction of this 2020 offseason, and it will be over the Arkansas Razorbacks. And this is a team that went 2-10 in 2019. Bit of a down season for Arkansas. Of course, they've had some struggles making it to a bowl game in the past few years, but today we're going to be going over whether or not they can make it back to a bowl game and surprise a lot of people in 2020. We're also going to be going over the returning production, a full preview, and also a game prediction on every single game on Arkansas's schedule heading into 2020. So with that, let's look at your season trends from 2019 for this team. Of course, they were 2-6 between September and October. However, they've lost every game in November. They were 0-4 between November and the rest of the season. So once again, Arkansas last season, there were just a lot of things that did not go the right way for Arkansas last year. I mean, they had a lot of injuries, and just the talent in general was not right for this team. And so that certainly concerns me moving forward. But they did have a couple of good wins at least. They did beat Portland State, of course, 20-13, and they also beat Colorado State 55-34. And yeah, considering Colorado State, I mean, they were not a great team last season at all, but that's still a pretty good win, being able to win by about 20. But yeah, with that, let's look at returning production for Arkansas this upcoming season. Their 2019 starting quarterback, Nick Starkel, is transferring away from the program, so he will not be with this team next season. And honestly, he isn't all that big of a loss for Arkansas, in my opinion. Of course, he had just right over 1,100 yards with 7 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. He had a huge interception problem, and he was also very inaccurate too. So honestly, I mean, Nick Starkel, he just had a lot of issues last season, and that was a big part of the reason why Arkansas just was not able to get the wins out last season. Felipe Franks is transferring in from Florida, and I tell you what, I mean, Felipe Franks is a quarterback that was looking to be possibly a top 5 SEC quarterback for the 2019 season. However, he did get injured in Florida's first game, which caused him to be out for the rest of the season. So he hardly even played in 2019, and that's like the main concern for me with Felipe Franks, is that he hasn't had much experience over the past year. But I mean, if you look back at his past stats, I mean, he definitely put up some good stats, especially in 2018. So Felipe Franks, I mean, he's a quarterback to watch out for, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how he does at Arkansas. Of course, he doesn't have as much talent at Arkansas than he did at Florida, and so that does concern me a little bit. But I think Felipe Franks definitely has potential to really lead Arkansas to a much better season. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me a single bit. I mean, if he was able to lead this team to 4, maybe even 5 wins, possibly even a bowl game, who knows? I mean, Felipe Franks has the potential to do that. And I mean, he kind of got the short end of the stick too with Kyle Trask. Of course, back in Florida, Kyle Trask kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, he wasn't even expected to be the starter last season, and then he completely came out of the gate. He blew everyone away, and then this season he's looking to be a top 3 SEC quarterback. I mean, if you've seen my SEC quarterback rankings, he's way up there. So yeah, for Felipe Franks, I think honestly people are kind of giving him the short end of the stick. I think he definitely is a great quarterback, and he's very underrated overall. They returned their top running back, Rakeem Boyd, so that's going to be a huge return. He had just right around 1,300 yards with 8 touchdowns, and of course, he's a great running back last season, honestly one of the best in Arkansas's division. And I mean, for Felipe Franks to have a good weapon in Rakeem Boyd in the backfield, that's going to be huge for him. They do lose their second running back, Devois Whaley, which he had just over 400 yards with 4 touchdowns last season, so it won't be as big of a loss. But I mean, you're still losing a running back there. But the good thing is you do still have Rakeem Boyd. They return all of their main wide receivers. That includes Mike Woods. And you also return Treylon Burks, which he had just over 500 yards. Then Mike Woods had just over 400 with 4 touchdowns. And so yeah, that's good. The receiving core is looking pretty good for Felipe Franks, and that's going to help him a ton. They do lose 2 offensive linemen as well as 2 on the defensive line. So they do lose a couple of linemen. However, they do also lose their linebacker in Harris. So overall, I mean, on the defense, you're really not losing a whole lot. I mean, all I can see here is 3 starters with the 2 on the defensive line and then the linebacker in Harris. So overall, this defense is looking pretty good too. And I mean, this brings up the question. I mean, Arkansas could be a big sleeper team in 2020. I mean, when you got a good quarterback with Felipe Franks, no under center, and then you got Rakeem Boyd, of course, their top running back, who put up nearly 1,300 yards last season. I think Arkansas has potential to be a big surprise team in 2020. That brings up the question, could Arkansas make a bowl game in 2020? I think, I mean, call me crazy, but I think it's possible for Arkansas to make a run for it. I mean, their schedule is just brutal for next season, so I think that's going to kind of be detrimental to their chances of pulling off a big surprise season. But I think Arkansas certainly could put up a couple of good wins in the SEC next season. I think they'll definitely improve from 2019. But to say whether or not they can make it to a bowl game, it's kind of a push to say that they will right now, but I definitely think they've got the potential to do so. And then what impact will having quarterback Frank have? I think it's going to have a huge impact. I mean, with Nick Starkel once again, he didn't have a very good quarterback. I mean, I have to say it. He had 7 touchdowns and 10 interceptions last season, and that is a terrible touchdown-interception ratio. When you have more interceptions than touchdowns and you're a top quarterback on that team, that is a huge problem. And so I think for Felipe Franks, I mean, he's got more experience and he's put up some better stats for sure. And so I think Felipe Franks could definitely lead this team to a good season. And then as far as your schedule goes, you start off the season on September 5th against Nevada, and then you got a road trip to Notre Dame and a road trip to Mississippi State. So once again, I mean, that's just the big reason why I don't think Arkansas could make it to a bowl game, is because of their tough schedule. I mean, it's tough enough when you're already a team that isn't very good in their conference, and in a brutal conference for that matter, and then you have to add Notre Dame to your schedule too. It just does not add up well for Arkansas. Then you got Texas A&M in a neutral location to finish off September, followed by a Charleston Southern game on October 3rd. Then you got 4 really tough games in a row. And the good thing is you do have a bye week between LSU and the Tennessee games, but you have Alabama, LSU, Tennessee, and Auburn in 4 consecutive games. Then all 4 of those teams I think are going to be big contenders in the SEC next season. So yeah, you got 4 really tough games there. And the good thing is, what I will say is that they do have like 3 of those 4 games at home. So you do have a good chance to put up possibly a major upset against Alabama, LSU, and Tennessee. I mean, you will definitely have a shot for that. But as far as the Auburn game goes, that will definitely be a tough one on the road. Then you finish off your season with Ole Miss, Louisiana Monroe, and Missouri. So overall, those last couple of weeks of November shouldn't look all that bad at all. I mean, especially that Ole Miss game could be a good Arkansas win, and their first win in the SEC in quite a while. But as far as your September goes, I think you go 1-3. I do think you get a win against Nevada to start off the season. I think Nevada keeps it close, but I think Arkansas pulls out a win in the end. However, I do think you lose the rest of your games in September. You lose to Notre Dame, Mississippi State, and then Texas A&M. I just think all 3 of those teams are going to be too tough for Arkansas, especially at the starting points of the season. As far as your October goes, I think you also go 1-3 in that month. I think you beat Charleston Southern pretty easily, and then I think Alabama, LSU, and Tennessee. As much as some Arkansas fans are going to want to win at least one of those games, I just think it doesn't happen next season. I don't think Arkansas is quite ready for that. But once again, I mean, this team does still have potential with Felipe Franks. They could put up a big win there. It would not surprise me a single bit, but I just don't see it happening right now. Lastly, as far as your November goes, I think that you go 2-2 in this month, so you're finish off 4-8. I think you get a big win against Ole Miss. That'll be your first conference win in quite a while, and then you get a win against Louisiana Monroe, and that's going to be a close win as well. Both of those will be close wins for that matter. And so yeah, your record prediction is going to be 4-8. And overall, I mean, 4-8 honestly is not bad compared to how Arkansas was last season. I mean, they were 2-10 last season, absolutely horrible record. I mean, they were on par with Kansas, I would say, last season. This team just was absolutely terrible. And I think, I mean, with a record prediction with 4-8, that honestly is not all that bad for this team. I think that's going to be a huge improvement. And I think Felipe Franks could definitely help turn this team around. I think if you could give this team some positive momentum heading into 2021, this team could make it to a bowl game in 2021, no doubt. So, I mean, it's just a big rebuilding process for Arkansas right now. With that about wraps up our final prediction on Arkansas. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this team. If you enjoyed this preview, be sure to slap a like on it, subscribe as well. It really helps out the channel, and I'd really appreciate that a ton. But as always, thanks again for watching. Be sure to stay tuned for more from All Sports Central, and I will see you all later.